This podcast is brought to you by the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania.
Several companies have gotten caught up in a culture war going on in our country right now. Firms like Disney, Target, and Bud Light are the highest profile ones to find themselves in these disputes. But how do they protect their shareholder value while also serving all of the concerns out there in the public? Adam, pleasure to have you with us today.
Great to be with you, Dan.
Thank you. All right. What do these companies do? Because they are literally caught in the middle between differing viewpoints right now, and understanding that you have shareholders on both sides of these issues that can impact the bottom line.
Well, let's first set the stage of what brought us and brought them to where they are. You know, satisfaction with large corporations is at the lowest level it's been in a generation. According to a recent poll, in 2001, it was kind of 48-48, satisfied, dissatisfied with large corporations. Now it's 26-74. 74% are dissatisfied with large corporations today. Another piece of polling information is a good or bad idea for corporation executives to advance a social agenda. 6 out of 10 say it's a bad idea. And should CEOs become more or less involved in commenting on social issues? Just 2 years ago, Dan, it was basically 50-50. The same poll says it's now 72% saying no, do not get involved. What's happened here is that when companies in business, even with good intentions, meld something in the political universe, a controversial issue, with their business, watch out, because it's a slippery slope that has led to, of course, the situation that Bud Light is facing, the Target, VF Corporation with its North Face brand, and most especially, you want like a case study that really kind of amplifies all of these points. You look at Disney and what's happened in Florida over the last year or so.
Yeah, the Disney situation obviously is probably one of the headline ones that we've seen play out in the battle between the company and the state of Florida and the governor's office. And to a degree, I think it was one of the reasons why we had a CEO switch at Disney as well.
Well, it's interesting that the current CEO, obviously, is Bob Iger. And he was not CEO when he said, in relation to the issue that has caused the controversy in Florida, which was really about parental involvement and curriculum in kindergarten, he said it's all about right and wrong and that he knows the difference. That in and of itself, Dan, is the problem. When a CEO speaks on behalf of a large corporate family, it's not just the employees, it's also the suppliers, it's the investors, it's the customers. When that person says, I'm going to make a statement on behalf of all of us, and that statement has to do with an issue that is, by its very nature, either divisive or not unifying, that person's in trouble. And that's where Iger came down on this. And what's happened with Disney, as you know, Dan, because of this engagement with the governor of Florida, there was a loss of market value. There was a loss of brand equity. And now, more than ever, not just Disney, by the way, but every company out there, once they get into commenting on what's considered a social/political issues, it's open game. So that's your position on this. What is your position on these 18 other issues? If you don't line up 100% right with everybody, you're in for criticism, and you're taking your customers and your core business mission further and further away from where it needs to be.
And I think you can make a case that when you look at the Disney situation, while there was probably some impact, that what happened in and around Bud Light, there was probably more impact around Bud Light than maybe there was around Disney.
I don't think either Anheuser-Busch or Disney are very happy with what's happened in the engagement. The worst thing about Bud Light, it's gone from the word boycott, which is always something that should frighten every CEO, right? And a lot of times boycotts, they come and go. This one, though, it seems to have legs. It has legs because I think, fairly or not, the engagement on the issue that Dylan Mulvaney put into play has crystallized this as an issue for or against the company, as opposed to for or against whether you like Bud Light beer. And I'm not sure this is easily recoverable in a business and an industry where obviously, Dan, there's a lot of competition that Bud Light's up against normally. And now I think there's a reason for people to go elsewhere.
For the C-suite, the challenge becomes, you know you're going to have consumers on both
Right.
sides of an issue that use your product. That's the known quantity. The question is, how much of an impact is your product going to feel when you come down on one side or the other of a particular topic? And while it is, it's admirable in many cases for a company or for a CEO to make this statement, a lot of people would also say that when you think about the business of the company, that it's not appropriate in some cases for a CEO to make a statement on a social issue because they're focused on the company. They represent the brand of the company.
That question is right on, Dan, and here's my answer. In terms of the CEO, I call it the new CEO playbook. First of all, a CEO should be a steward for all and not for some, because a corporation is a big family as opposed to a nuclear family, mom, dad, and children. They should look at making statements of principle versus proclamations of activism. They should speak to common ground. They should always convey that they're listening. Whoever comes to them, I got it, I hear you, and they should try to translate into something that's more aspirational as opposed to confrontational. By the way, it's human nature that a CEO, feeling that something is right, would want to go in that direction and do what's right. But going back to Disney, the problem Disney has in having done that is Disney is a place where a lot of people come, Dan, to escape. They want to escape the real world. They want just for a couple of hours, for a day, to get away from it all. What's happened with Disney is they put it right back square at them with issues that are divisive and confrontational, exactly what they don't want to do in terms of a day at Disney. And I love Disney, by the way, and I wish this engagement had never happened.
Do these instances that we've seen play out with these companies, do they lead more firms to not get involved in these issues, even if they're getting more pressure from the public to get involved?
I think silence is not a virtue here, but going beyond silence into planting a flag in the ground or drawing a line in the sand, that's a problem. So I think if you're a CEO and a group comes to you, an individual or group, and says, look, we want you to speak out on X because this is really to the core of who we are. That CEO should say, I hear you, then tries to figure out how, in trying to find safe and common ground, they can actually say something born out of principle that is not going to, again, create this controversy or this communication or this confrontation over things that people have very, very set ideas on and principles on. So bottom line is you meet with them, you listen to them, you say, I hear you. If you can, try to issue some kind of statement that goes to the core of your mission as a company as well as principle without saying that is why we, the employees, the family of Disney or Coca-Cola or Target, we believe the following. You go there, it goes from I to we, and the we gets very upset because the we is not united.
Adam, great to have you with us today. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
Adam Goodman, partner with the Ballard Media Group.